We are from Thailand. You know Thailand is, right? Southeast Asia. And probably I would like to start by introducing Thailand Vineyard to you, because some of you might not know that there are vineyards in Thailand. Yes, there are actually, when people ask how many vineyards are there in Thailand, I have never count in my head, but I just remember where they are, and of course I put it there. So there are altogether 7. Oh, perfect number. All right, there are 2 vineyards in Bangkok. The Living Room Vineyard in the suburb of Bangkok and close to the airport. And First Light Vineyard in not really a slum area, but in poor community in the heart of Vineyard, in the old government housing area. Just started 2 years ago, still wondering what to do. And there is new chapter English Center that use English teaching, English tuition as the way to reach people, because people over there really like to study English. Some of them have English foreigner as husband, and most of them work with foreign company, so they really like to brush up and learn more to increase their English proficiency in order to progress in their career. So English is a good tool to reach out to people. And the next one is Rayong Vineyard. That is where I come from. Rayong is east of Bangkok on the coast, like 2 hours away. It's an industrial area. We operate Rayong Vineyard out of a coffee shop. And I will share that with you later on. And then there is a Charis project. Charis project is right on the border between Thailand and Myanmar, working with migrant workers that move across from Myanmar to find jobs in Thailand. Most of them are illegal, and most of them involved in drugs and human trafficking. And you might have heard about the story of what's going on in Myanmar right now. Simply, it's better than Ukraine, but not so much better. It's the war zone. And it's even worse when we put it in the way that their own government are killing their own people. So the Charis Project has a lot of work to deal with the wounded, to deal with family who migrate across the border, try to find shelters. And then there is Thai Chiang Mai Vineyard. There was an international church Vineyard Church in Chiang Mai before, but the leader left. He went back to Ireland according to his health condition. So there is a couple who is trying to plant a new Thai Vineyard Church in Chiang Mai once again. This is in a beginning period, but it has been like that for a while. They are still figuring out what to do next. And there is also one business lady. She is in curtains fabric business, working with hotels in Phuket. It is a very touristy area, you know that. She's one single woman, but if you ask her, she would say, "No, I'm not only one. I have 4 members in my church. It's me, the Father, Jesus, and Holy Spirit. I'm not alone." and she has been working with women in prison, bringing them stuff, teaching them how to do sewing, preparing them for when they leave the prison, finish their due time, they can go on and live normal life. But she had some trouble during COVID time. up until now, under lockdown, that ministry has to stop. Up until now, it has not really quite opened yet. So COVID changed a lot of things, and she's still praying. To give you a little bit more perspective of Thailand, Thailand is slightly larger than Norway, like 15% in terms of area, larger than Norway, but we have a lot more population. I think there is 5 million people in Norway, right? But over there, 70 million people sharing almost the same area as Norway. So it is crowded, especially in Bangkok. I do not know how many people are there in Oslo, but officially there are like 8 million people crowded in Bangkok. Unofficially, 11 million. A lot of unregistered residents living in Bangkok right now. So you might have heard about Bangkok traffic. It's classic. And you might have heard about Bangkok flood. And I'm going to talk about Bangkok flood more later on. Before going further, I'd like to introduce you to my family who come along with me as well. My wife, her name is Tida. If you meet her, you can greet her. And my daughter, her name is Leo. I really need to introduce them to you as well because I'm not alone in this. They are in this with me. What I'm sharing to you today, I don't think I can call it preaching, but more of my testimony, the witness of what Christ has done in our life, through our life. And we're still wondering what next He's going to lead us to. We're still walking on a limb, like John Wimber said. We don't know what's next. We always need Him. We always need our Savior. I'm going to talk about what I believe, my faith, and the fact of what's happening around my life in Thailand. I put faith and fact together every time to know what next I'm going to do, what next I should act upon it. To give you a little bit more about my background, I confess again that I have not been to any Bible school. I think you forgive me. I am a chemical engineer, and I just quit my job. I do not know how many years ago, but slightly before I first joined the summer camp in Sweden in 2018, so maybe 6-7 years ago. But before that, I was fully in industry, in the business. So my nature is a scientist, a business person, and I know that God used me as I am. So you will see a lot of figure in my presentation. Forgive me, I'm not that kind of pastor. Per Christians ask me what I would share with you guys, and I told him what I was thinking about, and he gave me a topic. He said, "Oh, it's about closing the gap." So I'm going to show you what the gap that I mean, and also I dare not to say that I'm closing the gap because the gap is so large. What I have done and what I will do, I think it's so tiny comparing to the large gap that it is over there. So you might have heard that there is a large inequality in Thailand. You know, in Thailand, to show you how large the gap is, I think it is easier to put it this way. 70% of the population never own an accommodation, never own a house all through their life, including me. I almost made it, but I switched a little bit. I refinanced my house and invest in what I'm doing right now. So I do not own my house. The bank owns my house. Only 5% of people over there own 80% of the land. So you can see that some small number of people, some rich people only own everything, and majority of people over there have to work their way out in order to find a place to sleep, somewhere to cook their meals, and make the ends meet every end of the month. And that's the gap we have. More than that, when you know about the gap, we do not have the kind of social security that you guys have. Of course, you pay large tax, but we do not have that. And we are the third country in Asia that is, that's you can call an aged society. We have a lot of old people. Old people that are poor, they cannot sustain themselves, depend on young people. But when there are large gaps like that in Thailand, young people, it's kind of hopeless to find a job that can even sustain themselves. And then there are a lot of older people that depends on them. The structure of the family in Thailand, so parents, most of the time, deep in their mind, even though they didn't try to, they look up to their children, hopefully that one day when they grow old, their children will get a job and make enough money, earn enough to support themselves, their family, and include them, because they cannot depend on the government at all. So there is a large gap where we are. There are a lot of older senior citizens who look forward to younger generation to live up and help them. You know, I remember this. Paul and Peter disagree in many ways, and finally they had a discussion and agree on one thing. Peter, the senior apostle, and Paul is the second generation of apostle. Peter, his heart is for the Jews, but Paul, his heart is for the Gentiles. He liked to bring the gospel over to other countries far away across the ocean. So they have different direction. They have different group of people in mind, but they come into agreement. Peter talked with Paul and said, the only thing he asked is to remember the poor. He said in Galatians chapter 2, verse 10. And in the vineyard, we always say, we need to remember the poor. And where I live, everybody, almost everyone, look poor. It doesn't look poor like people in Myanmar or people in Cambodia. They are worse, I admit. But that's not much better. Not much better. Just looks better. And that led me into some action. Because we also are poor church, with poor people. I'm walking on a limb myself. And most of churches in Thailand are small churches. And we have to rent a place to run the service. And most of the time it's underutilized. And all the tithe and offering cannot sustain the leader and pastor family. We cannot depend on the gift and the tithe offering from people. They need more help from us. So most of the time, the offering is going to the landlord whom we rent the building from. And I don't think it's good that way. So I pray and had an idea of, we could do something to sustain ourselves. And at the same time, we should also help the poor by the thing that we do. And the church is not just Sunday church, it's us. We should have a connection point to reach out to people. Of course, we do outreach, but why don't we create something opposite? Create a fish trap. So the fish can swim in. They reach us when we are not ready to reach them. So I had an idea of running a coffee shop, roasting coffee, helping the poor farmer in the north, having a church without wall, without an appointed service time, where people can reach. It is all the time accessible when we open the door. And at the same time, we can sustain ourselves and help the poor at the same time. And then come Yindi Coffee. 12 years ago. No, really? It's 2012. Oh, my math is wrong. 11 years ago. It started in a small corner like that, one-story shop, very small. And before we started, we had around 30 people in our congregation. But when we become a coffee shop, our church suddenly looked strange to some of the people that left. And we end up having something like 12 to 15 people. But I can be a witness to you. When I run a coffee shop, I got a chance to share the gospel to people in the market, in the street, whoever, the customer, much more than I run a church. I got an affirmation from Jesus that, son, this is the right way to do. And then I put myself into this, I quit my job, go up to the mountain, learn more about coffee. Confession again, I didn't drink coffee before I started to do this. So I have to study a lot. I go up to the mountain, be with the people, learning from the farmer. Our family took a barista course. I took a coffee roaster course. And I've been going around drinking coffee from a famous roaster from one to another and many, many, many until now my blood is full of caffeine. I need some fika after this. I went to the mountain, worked with the farmer, learn about the life of the coffee farmer in the jungle, and been working with one particular village in the north part of Chiang Mai, close to Myanmar border, in Mae Ai. Our friends in Plan B has been there. When I started working with them 11 years ago, they had the whole village has already been Christian. There are 50 families up there, and they grow coffee and tea. They run 4 services every Sunday in that blue small building with the cross. You see it on your left-hand side. Because everyone in the village want to attend the church service on Sunday. So every time after the second service, the third service, and the fourth service, I sat there and I saw the pastor preaching by looking out of the window. He might have done that 2 times, and he waiting for it to finish, to get done so he can go home. But after having a business with us, the economy of the people in the village has improved. When we get there first time, the road, maybe I should not call it a road, it's dirt and with a lot of holes, and well, you cannot use the vehicle that you are using today to go up there. It's only 4-wheel drive vehicle only, and it's very slippery in rainy season. So after 10 years, the road has mostly paved now, looks so much better, and they have finished building a church building in the bigger one back there with the orange pink roof. So there is now only one service on Sunday. Bless the pastor. And afterward, when they finished building that new church building, I was so jealous because I was still in that small shop. And I prayed so hard, and as we saw a vision of a tree on the water. So every day I rode one scooter along the canal that is close to the old building that we were in, and found a tree by the water, a land, but that's not for sale. But I rode along the road almost every day, until one day there is a sign pop up that is for sale, and with a blessing from many different directions, we finally got it, and we built a building that is bigger and nicer. I think my friend in Trondheim, Dark, might have shown you our new building. Is a big blessing that we received in almost 2 years ago, just right after COVID. So the COVID was a quiet time for us. We spent that time planning on a budget, design, and build this building, and it is done. It is much nicer. Every day I go and work there, Monday to Saturday, including Friday. We run a church service out of that building. I feel that I am always on the blessed ground. I see His blessing all around me every day. I never forget a single moment in my life that I'm blessed. And God is real. And His miracle can happen for those who wait and those who pray and those who walk in His way. Our God is a miracle worker. He's a miracle maker. And He can work mysteriously, miraculously. How can you imagine a guy in Thailand running a coffee shop in a small corner? We get to know a friend in Norway. We don't know each other from school. It's a miracle. My daughter, she studied music in the university, and she asked me if I like to see an orchestra. And me and my wife one time sat in the concert in her university and was fascinated how a music conductor can lead hundreds of different instruments to work in one perfect song with perfect rhythm, perfect melody. Our God is like that. I talk about the gap, but there is more gap. This is a fact around me. You will be shocked or surprised by the fact that I'm showing to you right now. But this is the truth, I promise. I try to find this fact from a trust source. I am ashamed of this figure myself. And this is the fact. This is the amount of plastic waste in 2021. And I'm sorry, I have to mention some countries that contribute to this amount of plastic waste in the ocean that is not Thailand. Well, but you can see that Thailand produces a large quantity as well. The rest of the world produce 176, I do not know how to count in English, but a large amount. Philippines, I'm sorry, is the largest. India, China, and Thailand, a small country, produce large amount of plastic waste. You know, it doesn't depend on how large your country is, but it depends a lot on the shorelines. It depends a lot on the river. The Philippines made that happen because there are small islands combined into a country. And also, the fact is also the mismanagement of the West. The reason why I said this, because you have heard that I mentioned that I am on a river. I saw plastic waste passing by every day. And you know the ocean gets warmer. There are fishermen. I live on the shoreline. So the small fishermen cannot fish that far. They are allowed to go, 2 miles. So when the ocean gets warmer, your ice melt. The small fisherman guy cannot fish. We depend on fish from the big fishing boat only. The poor fishermen get poorer. We pay more for seafood. The gap is larger again. And when the ice melt, cities are sinking. You know, Jakarta has a plan to move the capital to somewhere else because they have risk of sinking. But my poor country, Bangkok, who has the most risk right now, within 10 years, most part of Bangkok will be underwater. But my government has done nothing. There's no project to prevent this to happen. 11 million people in Bangkok will be affected. A lot of business. And this is the result of global warming. It's not a joke. I used to go to school when I was in high school wearing jacket. The weather was like this on some cold day. But children going to school today never have to wear a jacket. We have hot and super hot days. Global warming is real. Coffee become more expensive because they harvest less coffee beans. The weather get warmer. The coffee tree produce less coffee cherry. Pope Francis, he's a Catholic, of course. He's a leader of Catholic, but he cares a lot about environment. When we talk about it, he said, it takes us back to the first chapter of the Genesis. God created everything we are in. And he put us there in the Eden and asked us to take care of the garden. So what are we doing now? What we did over there, especially during the COVID time when we cannot meet in the room, we used the paddle board and go out on the water, collecting the trash. From this picture, you know how much that is. That is my wife on a paddleboard, Sunday morning, service on the water. That is my daughter doing the same thing. And on the first slide, the whole church is going out on the water, picking trash. And we make coffee. We put a lot of coffee beans in plastic bags. So I was wondering, how could we say more to people who buy our coffee about how to take care of the environment? We use bioplastic serving in a cup, but people hardly notice that it is bioplastic. And I studied that the aluminum can has more recycling rate. Aluminum can be born again into aluminum can. So I had an idea. I should put a coffee bean in the can. And here it is. The summer camp coffee in the can. It's not an intention to design a new package to attract customer, but more of a way to communicate that the reason why we do this, we want to reduce single-use plastic in our job, in our daily life. We want every day our life will bring justice to people, justice to the poor. Because climate change, global warming hurt the poor. The poor become poorer. Their farmland get flooded. The seasons change. It affects their life. So we want to do something to give justice to the poor. And this is worship. This is not just singing. It is not just giving offering. In Amos chapter 5, God said, stop singing. I don't care about your offering. Let the justice flow. And that is worship. We try something. We try to worship Him without singing. But using every moment of our life, everything that we can do to be witness to people. Doing that is simple gospel. Love God, love people. We try to show love to everyone, even though to those who do not care about what we are doing, including our enemy who mock us. But through this cracked jar of clay, we cannot hold His light. I'm trying to allow my cracked vessel to shine Jesus' light through everything that I do. I want Him to lead me. Even though the thing I do is so small, comparing to the gap that is so large that I share with you. But everyone remember the story of mustard seed, right? I do not have mustard tree. I do not know, but I can imagine that how small it is growing into a big tree. I know how small I am. I hope and pray that one day it will grow bigger. It will make more effect. And I should not be intimidated by how small I am today. I should focus more on what He wants me to do. And everyone understand and know the story of the 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread. With limited resources we have, if we give it to Jesus, He multiply. It will be enough. And that will be surplus even. I love Vincent van Gogh. I do not know if I pronounce his name. I love the painting Starry Night. And I love his quote. He said, "Great things are done by a series of small things that are brought together." What if we do this thing together? I try to convince those vineyard churches in Asia to do this thing together locally, because we're responsible for ocean plastic. Doing that together, we help the world to become a better place for the next generation. And I received help from my Norwegian friend. I cannot even pronounce this, but you can read this, right? Not everyone can do everything, but everyone can do something. And I hope that what I have shared today, it will carry some message from Jesus to your heart. And it will turn into some action according to your local context. We do not have to be the same. We do not have to do the same. We do not have the same facts around us. We do not have the same environment. We do not have the same problems. But we have the same God. We share the same love. And the earth is our common home. Thank you.